Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next to Media. I'm Mike Shields. I'm here with Peter Hamilton. He is the head of ad innovation at Roku. Hey, Peter. Thanks for being here.
Hey, yeah. I'm excited about our conversation.
Yes, definitely, because you are in the spotlight right now. You guys are doing a lot of cool stuff in this area, and always
I don't disagree.
So glad to talk. So let's start. You're the ad product innovation guy. So I want to get into what you're doing specifically, but what do you think about the space in general? I think there is a lot of excitement and potential for CTV advertising to have like its own set of native cool units, and everybody's experimenting there. I don't know if we've seen adoption, like what you see on CTV is often typical television for the most part, but it's getting there. How do you see the state of things?
Well, I don't want to speak too much to other platforms and what they've got going on. We have been testing and releasing new products constantly, every quarter. And some of that you'll see in prime time because it's ready and we launched it. And some of that, we're learning and testing rapidly. And that spans from interactive capabilities to exploratory showroom types of experiences to the commerce and shoppable stuff to, of course, Roku City is a major innovation of ours, to what we're doing with the home screen. We've brought video to the home screen for the first time at Roku. And so, it goes on and on and on. I mean, we've got, the discovery destinations, for content like our sports zone and all things food and all things home. And all this stuff is, that's all relatively new, in television watching and viewing experiences. And most of it is centered around the difficulty of figuring out what I want to watch. And then the difficulty for advertisers to connect to the different parts of the funnel, with their customers on CTV. So,
because you're in a unique spot in a lot of ways. And that you're an ad tech company. You create ad units. You sell advertising. You are a programmer. You also have partnerships. So it's a little bit of I imagine it's a balancing act of you're not just one thing. Like straight up ad sales company. You got to make a lot of different parties work together and be happy.
Well, and I will say at the end of the day, we are a television entertainment company, and we are a device. We are an operating system that half of American households depend on to watch the content that they want to watch. And so we're extremely focused on the viewer experience. You will not see us just willy-nilly slapping ads all over everything just to make a buck. We are very aware that our market share is because of the superior experience and the simplicity and delight that we bring to television viewership. And so, and that comes, from Anthony, our CEO, all the way through. We are first and foremost that device and operating system company. And so everything we do is, cast through that lens and goes through very important user acceptance and satisfaction testing, before we just toss it out there. And that makes, our job very interesting. As a person that has made my career in advertising and in performance advertising, it gets me into the mindset of consumers way more, and I love it.
It's different than if you're just a straight up ad network, ad tech company who's focused
I get to spend time with our consumer team.
Whatever.
We're like thinking about how do we make this delightful? How do we make this cool? How do we make this exciting? And with some of our units that will be coming out even next year, we're doing things that a lot of companies would never think about. They're like, well, we'll just toss the ad out there. And we're like, well, how do we ready a consumer for this ad? How do we help them to feel like they're in control with this ad, and these kinds of things are just so important. And so, I love it. We definitely are a consumer first company, to the core.
Do you think you have your partners with a lot of these companies, so I'm sure you have to be careful, but is everybody moving fast enough and in the right direction in terms of this kind of innovation? And can you lead, or is it impossible because there's so much fragmentation that it's hard to get everybody rowing in the same direction?
I think we are leading, and the reason that we're leading is because of that care for the consumer experience. We're building long-term scalable opportunities. We avoid flash in the pan, types of products that will just get everybody excited for a quarter, and then we'll all forget about it because it has no scale, it has no performance, the consumer hates it, all these things. And so we, as a product and engineering organization, we think hard about scalability. And, is this going to be a line of business for many, many years to come? And that's like true innovation. The flashy one-off stuff, might inform where we're going and what that long-term scalable product is going to be, but it's not it.
What I think, there's an impatience sometimes with CTV, and things are trending in a great direction. Don't get me wrong, but they want advertising to all of a sudden be like digital, where everybody's getting a super targeted ad and everybody knows everything about every viewer. And often I think they're like,
we just want social 2.0. Just hand us that. That'd be great.
Yeah. Or the worst of display, where there's like everyone's chasing around. I think it's probably somewhere in between. But what don't people understand about ad tech in this medium and targeting that is just fundamentally different from either of those, social display or whatever?
I mean, first of all, TV is an entertainment device. It doesn't double as your work device, for email and Slack. Doesn't double as your social media device for creating and sharing content in that way. It doesn't double as your search device to find like your restaurants or your directions or your everyday needs. It really is trying to provide the best entertainment experience. And in that way, it has a very different impact to the consumption or the consumer who is in a certain mood. They're in a certain state.
So that's not a technical difference. That's just like a fundamental use case difference.
When I sit down to turn on my television, it is absolutely different than when I put my phone in front of my face. And as a result, it does have messaging power. It does have recall power. It has storytelling from awareness down through consideration power that is different. And we know it. We know that it moves minds. It moves hearts in a very, very powerful way. And so, many of those in, performance or direct response and, have utilized these other channels for many years. They built sort of a coin operated economy that just drives, conversions. And they're also finding that they've sort of, peppered the earth with those DR messages. And the people that are susceptible and ready to hear that DR message have been reached. So how do you ready the next audience to be accepting that DR message? That's where awareness comes into play, to conquest and explore and find new audiences that I need to educate and I need to build awareness and I need to build trust with, and then on to consideration. Television has a supreme advantage in doing so. And so, as a result of this being a very different experience, TV is the bastion, for awareness. And more digital marketers are trying to figure that out. And they're starting to realize I have been leaving a gaping hole in my strategy, and CTV could be and should be a major part of that.
I want to come back to that point about the coin operated, born on digital kind of category. That's interesting. And I think we'll get there, because why is everybody, you have pushed into this arena recently of a self-serve platform, and a lot of other folks in TV are doing that, seemingly very much aimed at making life easier and more programmatic, but also just broadening the pool of TV advertisers, whether that's the DTCs or small businesses of every stripe. Why is this happening now? And is the market ready for all this?
Look, there are millions of advertisers in the US alone that have been milking, the search and social DR cow for a decade. And there are thousands of advertisers that are buying, television and CTV in reality. So there is a massive opportunity of demand if those advertisers are able to diversify and bring budgets over. Like I said before, in some cases, they've sort of, converted their attainable DR audience. In other cases, maybe they've become overly dependent on one or two channels, and diversification is just an absolute must at this point. maybe in some cases the economics are not quite what they were before in those channels, and they're starting to hit some thresholds of pain there. So expiration of channel becomes really, really important. And so I think that there's absolutely demand. There's just no question about it. If you talk to any performance marketer, mobile marketer, gaming marketer, D2C marketer right now, like nearly all of them are saying, I need to figure out CTV.
Right.
And so it's on the tip of everybody's tongue. But I think where these self-serve platforms that you have seen that are sort of missing the mark is that access to CTV inventory is just the first step. You do need to build features for like true growth and performance-oriented marketers. These types of marketers.
So it's not enough to just plug in and buy NBC View the same way you used to, just with not a sales guy. Like it's got to be tailored for a different kind of customer.
Absolutely, and that means when it comes to creative and measurement and audiences, all those things need to pass their threshold and their bar, and for what they require out of their channels to prove ROI. And not to say that it's going to fit into the exact models that they've been using, but it is something that the platforms have to provide. And most of these sort of self-serve tools that have popped up are really, they're targeted toward SMB and local, type advertisers, which will grow, moderately over a very long period of time as you need tens of thousands of accounts, to build revenue. And what we see and what I've seen in my career over and over again is that these performance level growth oriented buyers are the leaders for everybody else.
Right.
Every marketer aspires to be a growth marketer, performance marketer that is an SMB or local today, right? Like this is, I want to be good at my job. I want to be smart. I want to be data driven. I want to drive performance. I want to do optimization.
I want to do something that had an impact and prove it. And,
exactly. And so when you focus on that audience and we want to meet their needs first, and like that's what we've done with the Roku Ads Manager. We built it from the bottom up because we needed to have the kind of control of our own technology to be able to pivot, move quickly, listen to those customers. And when we build for them first, we think the rest of the market really follows. So, I guess that's, kind of a long way of saying that yes, there's demand from all of these different parts of the advertising community, but I think that the growth of performance marketers are going to be our leaders and are going to be the ones that growth hack CTV for all of us.
That's interesting. Because I think there is it seems like you're making a distinct. I think people lump together. Well, if TV wants to be just like Facebook and Google, you get the whole long tail, right? You get the DR brands and all the small businesses, but it sounds like you're making a distinction between getting the local car dealer plumber guy to move from TV to CTV versus the whole pool of advertisers that have grown up on Instagram and are really DR focused. That's the bigger opportunity for television. That's where the others will come after those guys.
Absolutely. The others, if you build the features that these performance growth folks need, you will absolutely have plenty of features for everybody else. So,
right. Okay.
Their needs and requirements are just less in terms of magnitude.
Yeah.
But also you're like educating them and you're helping them grow into becoming digital oriented buyers too. Right.
Yeah. Which is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Digital and TV in general. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you start with folks that are going to train the industry and teach us, and including teaching Roku, how to provide the best ads manager product we can. And then we continue to broaden the feature set for them, and that will pay dividends for everyone in the ecosystem. Okay.
A couple of challenges I've heard from people on this issue that I've just heard about that I wonder if you respond to. One is, this all makes sense, but the performance brands want a lot of data to do what they do well, and they can't get it from TV the way they are used to. And or the pricing everyone wants to keep their upfront pricing so high that they don't want to open a door to all these guys and make it affordable, so it's harder. Either of those things resonate from your conversations, what you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll answer the second one first about pricing.
Yeah.
You know, being the operating system means that, our ads manager can, really provide direct access to our owned and operated inventory, as well as to our inventory shares that exist across the other AVOD apps, in CTV.
Yep.
And so from a price efficiency standpoint, it's it's a main line in. And we do see cost efficiency that's better than most any other, platform or third party that you can find. CTV, is still priced accordingly, a little on the upper end, but it's also because, it has not been fully optimized from a supply standpoint. I mean, there's far less advertising in CTV content than there is in television, or linear. So there's still a lot more supply that can grow into that market.
Sure.
We're all being protective of the consumer experience, and we're going to go slow there. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be, development from both ends of the spectrum, folks that are just like focused on bottom funnel and folks that are focused on reach. Right. And that premium reach is always going to come at a cost, a different kind of a cost, and something that needs to be built into upfront. Whereas, performance is more about the user and less about, a premium type of reach. We're more about, in fact, in some cases, we're more about adding more frequency because we know if we hit them with this message, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 times, we might get them on the 10th time. Right. And when that's the goal, then sort of the inventory match is different and we're optimizing on the user. So I think effective, cost per conversions is what those folks are going to be focused on. And although, the cost per impression is higher than like display, on web traffic.
Sure.
You can get to effective conversions and conversion rates that are ROI positive.
Given what you are trying to facilitate, this much broader market, this new crop of brands, making them happy, is it help or hurt? Everybody in TV wants to have a unique selling proposition, right? And have their own. You've seen many of the big media companies. I have my own identifier. I have my own graph. I can do all this cool optimization stuff. But then that could become a walled garden for every different media company. That could be viewed that way, and that can theoretically makes it harder. Do you think that's a challenge? Do you think that eventually that's going to have to come together, or can brands work around that?
Well, Roku is a little bit different than a lot of the other players in the market. Something that makes us different than some of the walled gardens is that, we really are this device where all of our different partners, other CTV apps, are a major part of the ecosystem. Like, they drive viewership. We take part, in many cases, we take part in their ads and their ad revenue, or even in their subscription revenue. So when they grow, we grow. And so as a result, we have this sort of like more impartial platform play that also has immediate scale at such a level that that we can sort of bring some of those gardens together, so to speak.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like we don't compete with our customers in many of these categories, right? Like, so we're not a commerce company. We're not a phone device hardware company. We're not a search company. We're not a social company. Like, we are only a TV company, and that's all we do. And as a result, we think we have a great opportunity to build partnerships across all of that landscape, to make it easier for marketers to be able to do the 1, 2, 3 punch, across those vehicles. And we're open to that. We've shown that, especially like, we've done these integrations and commerce integrations like with Shopify and with Walmart and these folks. Like, that's hard to do for, some other players in this market. And we'll continue to, go down that path and make sure that this is a place where we get the best possible access we can, and we open up partnership opportunity in the best way we can. That's why I'm at Roku, to be honest. Yeah. It's because of that position that we have.
I want to ask you about the Shoppable stuff in a second, but before we get there, it's related. You obviously are like looking at lots of research. You want to understand the customer behavior. You're very careful about this entertainment mindset you're talking about. Do you have a sense from what you've researched? Like this has been a long been a question in television. Is like, how do people want to interact with content or advertise? Like it has been mostly a passive
question.
medium for a long time.
Yep.
But everything's have changed. So I guess what have you seen that tells you maybe they do, and then we can get into the shoppable stuff.
They do want it. Absolutely. We know this through our research. We know this through how our viewers raise their hands and ask for these things. They're almost confused why these options don't exist often in television. And when they do see interactive or purchasable experiences, they're still like, why isn't this on every ad? Like, if I'm interested, I should be able to do something. And so what I would say is,
because it's in their minds, it's digital. Like they're not like, it's not like old TV where this wasn't possible.
Yeah, they're like, this is obvious. And so I find it super fascinating that this has become a consumer experience issue. Yeah. Where we want to provide this to our users almost as much as we do to our advertisers. And it's actually genuinely true that they are finding this as a magical, fun, additive type of experience that they can go down and try out. And not every user is going to do it. It's going to be the folks that are most impacted or the folks that are your biggest fans that are going to dig in the deepest. But there's all kinds of learning that comes throughout this. You know, say you press OK on one of our action ads and it leads to, a Shopify store page, and we've got multiple Shopify products on this page. Well, you watched like 15, 20 seconds of an ad, and now you came into this portal for this advertiser, and you're looking at all their images and you're learning about this, and you're kind of building up some consideration in your mind. And whether you actually press OK to make that purchase on screen in that moment, or whether you pull out your phone and start doing some research, or whether you instead decide, well, I'll send myself a text so that I can, follow up on that later. You have now spent so much time with that brand. And that is so palpable.
Which wasn't possible and is really valuable.
That's exactly right. And so like apples to apples, if you look at, I just run a video ad without any kind of interactivity versus I run something that has shoppability and interactivity, it just adds more value in the funnel. We get intent signals. We can take those and we can build lookalike audiences off of these things and all that sort of thing. But also, we see that even if you didn't click anything, the inception in your mind that you could have even makes you consider more that I should follow up on that thing.
Right.
So it's really, really fascinating, but I think brands should think about it as I'm providing an added like service and experience to my customer over top of my video spend.
Right.
And, like in the case of Roku, it doesn't cost anything extra to do this. So yeah, why not add that value to them?
Do you think we settle on one way, quote unquote, of interacting? Is it the remote, the phone, voice, QR code, everything, nothing?
You have great questions. Before coming to Roku, I would have said, the phone's going to take over the TV, obviously, right? You can make a great argument. You can make a great argument for that. Now, having spent a few years here, the remote is central to the television viewing experience. First off, it is a heads-up display. Just like VR, I want to look at a large screen and experience the impact of this large screen while my
true. The phone takes you away from that.
My remote is in my lap and I am toggling without looking at it. Phone takes you away from that massively. Also, I love this example of where all the Gen Zs are on their phones while they're watching TV. They're not using it to interact with their TV. They want it to be a separated experience.
They do. Okay.
They're doing something totally separate from their television with their phone. And if you're now asking them to do the separate thing and now toggle between pages and tabs to do the thing with the TV on their phone, they absolutely loathe that experience.
Interesting.
And so the remote becomes fundamental to the television viewing experience. And it's also, you see this play out with QR codes. I can go on and on about this topic, but QR codes do not perform. They just do not. They're extremely low response
They're everywhere. I don't personally want to run to the television screen with QR code, but I'm
in
always
this business, and I see
maybe.
QR codes, and I'm always curious what that advertiser is doing with it, and I can't be bothered to take out my phone.
Right.
And so if I'm not doing it, but
that tells you something.
It tells you something, but also like we see it in the response rates. It's like 0.02%
really?
Of people are going to do this. Whereas when we started building these units where you press OK on your remote to start the funnel action, we see response rates at 1% and above. We see like some that like absolutely crush it at like 2%.
Interesting.
Just an order of magnitude, 10x, 20x, levels that you would see with a QR code. And so it might be that you start the experience and interactivity with your remote and you're like, hey, this is something that is personal to me or something that I care about. And I'd like to save it later or look at it later on my phone or like something like that. So sending yourself a text or, push or whatever that might be interesting.
People do on Instagram. It's a common behavior.
Yeah, I might do that. But in terms of like, am I going to go deep into this experience on my phone while I'm watching TV? Unlikely.
No,
it's very unlikely.
You just ruin the show at that point. Yeah. Or whatever you're doing. Okay, last one, I think, and this is a totally hard and fair one. But what is the biggest thing that needs to happen to you're a believer in interactivity? You think people want this stuff? What needs to happen for TV commerce to get bigger? Is it just a matter of time, training? You got to have enough deals with enough. You make it easy when your credit card's already set up. Or what's the big thing that needs to happen if there is one?
Well, for anybody listening, I swear that you didn't even tell me about this question.
No,
but it is.
No one's listening. Don't worry.
Yeah, no one's listening. But I think that we've built a lot of the foundations that are required right now. One of the big ones being self-service for advertisers to tinker and to play. Yep. Just unleashing it in a self-serve environment. Right? They can try, and they can try 10 campaigns, 20 campaigns, 50 campaigns against each other and, figure out what creative works against these with what call to actions, with, with what products and like all of that sort of thing. And all of these shoppable types of experiences in the past have been, direct IO managed service, massive campaign, you can iterate quarter over quarter and that's about all you're going to be able to do. So I think we have unleashed something here with self-service, in the Roku Ads Manager, you can actually connect your Shopify account and start promoting Shopify products on TV. The user can press OK and make a purchase.
It doesn't have to be a big special deal where we tried one thing and if it didn't work, it didn't work. Like you can go with tab.
You can do a $500 campaign if you want. Like we don't care, right? And the same with like our action ads for like sending yourself a text and those kinds of things. You just have to let marketers play. Let them hack. And that's what happened for social, when mobile app installs became the economy of social, it was because all of a sudden they had the tools in their hands and they were able to do the right kind of measurement, ROI analysis, but they were also able to run 10, 20, 50, 100 campaigns all together at once against each other and testing and multivariate testing.
Like you said, the hackers hack. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to unlock them. So there's that on that side for sure. And then honestly, all the rails are there for the other parts. And this is also kind of like one of the reasons I was excited to join Roku is because the API layers for commerce have developed so much because of social commerce that we're just riding on those same rails and we're bringing them right in. And, Roku does have a distinct advantage with Roku Pay. People use their Roku Pay wallet to purchase their subscriptions, for entertainment.
Yeah, that's a friction
movies
eliminator.
So
that's a big deal.
We can use that same credit card to make these purchases. But yeah, the rails are all there and we're just going to keep improving and iterating on those together. And I hope that those growth hackers are going to give us their feedback on what needs to happen next.
Cool. Well, that's going to be fascinating to watch. Exciting stuff. Peter, awesome conversation. Thanks for taking time out here.
Yeah, I so enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.